one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. And there is the new intro. Hope everybody dug it. I think my voice is a little bit too loud in that thing. It kind of blasted my ears out. But what's going on? It is Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my co-host, Crypto Ewok. And if you're live on stream, another face that is new to the channel, but certainly not new to crypto and Hex. We got Crypto Coffee in the house. Coffee, how you doing, man?
What's up, guys? Good to be here. And Boi Crypto, I feel like you should be changing your name if you've been in Hex for a couple of years now, right?
Right. With the way things are going to the market right now, yeah, I would say so. We got Hex pretty much battling for that 8-cent mark. It's been a crazy last few days. And we're going to get into all of it tonight. We're going to talk PulseChain Launch game theory. That'll probably take up most of the conversation, I would imagine. But let's check in with the folks I got here. Ewok, how you feeling tonight? As Coffee mentioned, we do have Hex. Man, you said it before we went on air about quad sevens or something. 777.
777. Feeling lucky. We're doing the 5-5-5-5s, but now we're getting a whole bunch of sevens. Yeah, things are looking good. Things are looking good.
Yeah,
things are looking very good.
It's weird. Like the higher the price goes, the more I just doom scroll through Twitter because it's actually fun again. It's not like I'm just sitting there just enjoying the pump like all you guys, and oh my god, it's glorious. And I mean, we might even tap 10 cents, maybe even higher. It all depends on PulseChain testnet and what's the Fed gonna do. But I think we've got a couple of weeks of just blue skies.
I think so too.
I think you're 100% right. And I mean, we'll get into this, but I mean, all it really takes is even also just looking at the chart. I mean, not only do we have a lot of bullish things obviously going on with Hex, Richard mentioning what the progress with Pulse and that V3 public testnet is probably just right around the corner. But, there's just a lot of air between 7 cents up to about 12 cents for Hex as well. I was just telling Ewok off the air, like when we were in that 6.5 cent zone, even though we weren't even there that long, I could just like feel it coming and just knowing how quickly it could fly after 7. So
you're like, who's selling at this point, right? It's like we've gotten such a we're domain specific experts on this one particular cryptocurrency. Not a lot of people have that luxury. So we've kind of analyzed every single whale that could possibly ever, be dumping. And we've got eyeballs on them all the time. We're, cheering when they're selling the bottom. Everybody loves to throw the whales under the bus when they sell. But hey, people take profits whenever they take profits. But it's like, all the sellers that we're gonna sell, I think they're all out. And so when we were bouncing around 6 cents, it's like who's really selling at that point? Not a lot of people. I mean, everyone's kind of probably of the same mind where there's not a whole lot of resistance, whether or not you want to go from a technical standpoint or just fundamental. Not a whole lot of resistance from 6 to 10 cents, especially. I mean, even liquidity conditions are, everything is kind of lining up perfectly, and I love it.
Stars are lining, that's for sure.
The stars are definitely aligning, and I guess we should start off really just with what Richard did say the other day, and we'll get into a couple other things we want to too. But since it is kind of top of mind, he sent out that thread the other day, basically saying where we're at with PulseChain. Ewok, I don't know if you happen to have that pulled up, or if you can pull it up here or anything, but
I can.
Basically, it sounds like V3 public is right around the corner. So, Coffee, what did you kind of make about that tweet where we think we are maybe with Pulse, mainnet? And I was talking to Ewok off air. Do you think we definitely are going to get a public V3. It's not just like a private one. Like we will get a V3 before actual.
I think it would be responsible to do a public V3. I mean, there's a lot of developers out there, a lot of people building stuff that need to redeploy their contracts and see if it's all working still. And it's probably going to be fine. And, it's the same code and everything, or same Solidity contracts. There's no need to really change much, but who knows? I'm not a developer, but there might need to be some integer changes to accommodate, the extra zeros from ETH 2.0 rather than BSC or little things like that. So, I mean, I feel like it'd be irresponsible not to do a public testnet V3.
Right. And, also it's been how long since, V2's been out? I mean, I don't even remember when that was.
It's like a year at least. It's too long, but
yeah, and I saw it. I forget who said it the other day, but on Twitter, somebody said something like, everybody's waiting for V3, but you guys aren't even going to touch it. You're just really waiting for Pulse to come out. And I think that's probably true for, I don't know, maybe the majority of people, that it's like, will they even really get in and mess around? Or is it just kind of a price catalyst thing? But talk about that, Coffee, because we're going to get into, Pulse launch and how important and how hectic that's going to be.
Yeah.
But Ewok, you too. I mean, both you guys, like what do you think is going to be the importance in having that familiarity with just playing around in the testnet?
Well, look, I mean, I made a whole bunch of videos back in the day when V2B came out, tutorials about how to familiarize yourself with this stuff. And it's really important that if you're listening and you've never played around with it, you need to get off your ass and go try it, because like if you're going to hit the ground running on day one with all of your life savings invested in some project that you've never even tested, and you've had the ability to test it, but you didn't, that's negligent on your part. I think it's your responsibility as an investor to go see how you can use this. And it'll also help you sleep better at night if you're going to try any, pre-bridge strategies. And, we can beat that dead horse to death, but everybody wants to talk, everyone's scared, nervous, trying to strategize about what they should do. The best way to strategize is prepare. Just educate yourself early on. And if you haven't played around with testnet V2B, go do it now. I mean, I imagine V3 is going to be relatively the same, but I know myself personally, I'm curious about quite a few things. Like the staking is going to be totally different.
Yep.
So that probably is going to warrant a couple new tutorial videos. It's we're forking Ethereum 2.0, which is a lot different than Binance Smart Chain, a lot better. So another opportunity to basically, test things all over again. And it's really up to you. It's the user's individual responsibility to prepare themselves. Nobody can really handhold you or guide you. All I can do is make a video, but it's one thing to watch it on a screen, and it's another thing to actually go click around and realize that this is actually a real thing that's materializing. Right. Understand what gas costs are, understand what the block speeds are that you can kind of expect. Do a limit order, because if you want to be smart early on in the accumulation stage of PLS or Pulse X, you need to know about limit orders. You should probably know about validation and staking too, even though it's probably above most people's pay grade, honestly, the validation part. But yeah, I might do it only if it's easy enough. Like if Alex from Hedron just hands me a box and I pay him, $1,000, he gives me a box and I plug it in, and that's my validator, great. But I'm still not convinced that validation is going to be totally profitable right away. But nevertheless, it's my job, right? This is what I kind of built the whole brand around. So it's my responsibility to test it, play with it, make tutorials, but it's also everybody's individual responsibility too. I mean, imagine putting $1 million or a couple $100,000 into something and just, letting it go by and not even bothering to check up on it.
Right. And especially while it's free, it's a good thing to get in there and play around and make mistakes while it doesn't cost you anything, as opposed to, once it goes live, trying to figure it out then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it behooves people to at least get more familiar with it and understand the interface and everything before it comes out. And we may, just because V3 public may come out doesn't mean that like PulseChain mainnet is right around the corner. But there seems to be a lot of momentum right now that I think people are warming up to the idea. Look, just the time frame. Like it only takes literally like 2 months. I mean, Christmas here in the United States. Like, I mean, everything was like the SEC and Hex and stuff like that, and Max Fear and all this stuff. And now suddenly it's like, dude, PulseChain could be any day now.
Yep.
It's crazy how these markets go. But Coffee, I want to ask you just a few questions. So before we get into even more Pulse stuff, and I'm sure you've told it before, but I want to get into it a little bit with you about like your Hex origin story. how you kind of got to the point of getting primarily involved in Hex, what crypto you were in before that, and what kind of, I guess, life decisions and stuff led you to Richard Hart and the Hex ecosystem.
Yeah, well, I've talked about it before, but basically, I have a background in finance and tech, engineering degree, and it was mostly in white collar America for a number of years, maybe 8 or 9 years before ultimately dedicating my full life to crypto. But during those 9 to 5 rat race years for me, I was always working on some kind of side hustle. I always, from the day that I started, I saw the writing on the wall. I knew that I never wanted to be that guy with the suit and the Rolex at the the CEO position, because you could have all the money and the power in the world, but it's like, at what cost, right? So I've always valued freedom, personal self-sovereignty, financial freedom. To me, getting rich and getting free, it goes hand in hand. And then when Richard Hart came onto the scene and started literally saying that, it really resonated with me, as I'm sure it does for you guys and everybody watching. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want financial freedom. That's what it's all about. It's not all Rolexes and Lambos too. It's whatever that means to you on an individual scale. So Richard really resonated with me when he came on to the scene around 2017. Just followed him ever since, and realized that among many other failed side hustles, I kind of decided to put all my eggs in one basket and just go really deep into this Hex thing. And that was right as a previous thing of mine called Crypto Coffee. It was an e-commerce store where I sold coffee in exchange for crypto. That's where the name came from. I decided, why even bother changing the name? I'll just kind of pivot into this Hex thing now, because quite frankly, I needed to defend my bags. Back at the time, everybody was just talking shit, and I really didn't like it. And there was nobody else that really had any compelling, coherent argument for Hex, even though I knew that a lot of people were very supportive of it. At the time, it was literally just me. I really think I was like the second one. I mean, Serena Alonzi, shout out Serena. She made the very first Hex YouTube video. That's a little history lesson for you, but she's not making too much content these days. I mean, it does take a lot of balls, though, to get out there in the early days, a lot of courage. So props to her. And, after I started making videos, you can go back into my earliest YouTube videos. They're pretty bad, right? Everybody's going to suck at first. That's just a fact. And, we just kind of suck slightly less over time. So you got to start somewhere. But after I started talking about it publicly, and it wasn't just Richard, and it kind of became a more real thing, and it materialized into this whole movement. We had RG3 hexologists, dollar cost crypto, like maybe a week or two after me, just coming on board as well. And everybody was kind of forming their own narrative, forming their own channel and their own way to talk about what this Hex thing it really is. And it really just it carried me away. I mean, it took over my entire life, and it succeeded beyond my wildest imagination, and it's only just getting started. So it's
you say it took over your life. Is that in a good way? I'm assuming.
Good, bad, ugly. It's a whirlwind of emotions, and you guys know how this crypto game is. It's but it's not just a pure constant orgasm, and it would be weird if it was, right? Like, if everything was just great all the time, you wouldn't appreciate the moments like, today, like this giant green candle that you're seeing on the charts. Like,
right,
we earned that after a long, brutal bear market. So, you reap the rewards after going through all the pain, and it's not easy. People act like it's easy to get rich in crypto, or, oh, you just got lucky, but they never see the patience and the delayed gratification and the mental struggle that comes with, having to put conviction in something, and dollar cost averaging, and working away at your 9 to 5 and funneling paychecks into what you think is going to eventually change your life. And then it happens, and it's a beautiful thing, and you just end up wanting to share that with everybody else. So, like you guys, I'm stuck here for 15 years, so I might as well keep pumping my bags, keep spreading the good word to as many people as possible, because, if it can work for people like us, I don't consider myself like an exceptionally different person than a lot of other people, except that, you have to have some level of open-mindedness and some level of intelligence, obviously, but then you just have to take the risk. And it's just a matter of people that are going to be fearful and they're not going to act because they're afraid, or people that are just going to take that leap of faith and have that conviction and stand behind it. And, nature often rewards courage. That's a thing in the animal kingdom. And I think it's a thing in what we're doing here too, because it's really, really weird. There's nobody else like Hex. There's no other community doing this.
Not at all.
No, and that was
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that was just a comment I was going to say. And then once you get into this community, see what type of people there are and how intelligent they are, and how, it's just fun to meet up with people and hang out with them. They're, down to earth, just real people, just like we are. And, it's amazing to see the like-mindedness and how much we all have in common. It's pretty cool.
I want to touch on something you said, Coffee, that really resonated with me is like, you look around the office and stuff like that, and you realize that like the whole thing is a trap. It's almost like the movie Fight Club or something like that. Like you just realize the path that we were told to go on, just where is it actually leading you anyway? And I don't know if this is how you feel, but like when I talk to like my father, for instance, or like maybe people like that are outside of crypto, don't totally understand it. They're like, Jesus, man, you have balls for making that move. Like you said, it's like, okay, I guess you can look at it that way. But to me, it's like, what other choice is there? Like, because I don't think that the kind of life that we all have or are trying to attain wouldn't really be possible in like many other realms of finance. So to me, it's like, I won't be happy with anything else. So you can call it balls or whatever you want, but it's also just like, I have no other choice. This is what I'm going to do.
Exactly. That's kind of how I looked at it too. The other option did not exist, right? Like get old, get your 401k, retire. Like that was just not even an option. I knew that if it wasn't going to be this crypto thing, I mean, I was just going to move on to trying other businesses, and I was just going to go from business to business until I found something that stuck. But this is the perfect alignment of like, I think all of my past experience, finance, tech, engineering, and then all of my fundamental core beliefs about self-sovereignty, sticking it to the man. There's always that element, that cypherpunk element, which is just a very attractive story, especially to a lot of, I mean, it's not only just men in society, but everybody that's been kind of cheated by the system, by the Federal Reserve, a bunch of dudes you didn't even elect, inflating your purchasing power away from you. Whereas, you're working harder than ever just to stay afloat. And the American dream, so to speak, kind of falls slowly out of reach. So this is the way out. I've always looked at crypto as the way out ever since I recognized Bitcoin back in 2015. Now I did it wrong. I tried trading and doing all this dumb shit, and I lost tons of money. Like it's embarrassing to look back at the amount of Bitcoin I probably lost in the tens of actual Bitcoin, which at the time was, a couple $1,000s, but today, oof, don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
If I could have just funneled all that into Hex, but I ended up okay. It's a game of attrition. And even if you survive in this industry for long enough, and you don't quit, just by being here, you can mess up a lot. And I'm trying to teach people how to save themselves from making the same mistakes I did, but you could even do exactly what I did. And if you're here for 9 years, like you're just going to do very well, I think, because it's a tricky game. Not a lot of people have the fortitude for it or the diamond hands, but it all comes back to conviction and going back to the reasons that you're here in the first place.
Yeah, Ewok. I think you can probably talk in the early days before Hex came around and stuff, like what your strategies were with the Bitcoin trading and stuff like that. I know you were a little bit down that direction too.
Yeah, I took a big L on the whole BitConnect fiasco, like most people did, and then during the bear market, following that, I figured, well, let me get a trading bot, because I'm not smart enough to do it. Let me program this thing to do it. Well, not realizing that the person programming it is how you get your returns. So you almost have to be smarter than what you're working with. And I did increase a lot of positions, but the price of everything went down. So, I didn't come out that much further ahead than, if I had just done nothing and just bought some. But yeah, I mean, it all works out. Like you said, if you stick at it long enough and are determined enough, it usually you'll come out on the good side with something that you find. And luckily we found Richard and we found Hex.
For sure. Yeah. I want to ask you, Coffee, because like talking about your YouTube channel, like one of the great things that I think that you do that, I'm not throwing shade on anybody, I just think you do it the best that I have seen, is you seem to have an understanding that like there's always new people coming to Hex. There's always new people, of course, coming to crypto. And like, I like that you really put a lot of focus on education, which you kind of mentioned there. Every time, like, I think it was the last one, like when Communists came out, before you knew it, like you had a video up talking about how to claim
I want that
communis.
referral money, bro. gotta act fast.
Exactly. Yeah. But, I think you also obviously care about people learning this stuff, and you always have that stuff out there right away.
Yeah.
And there's so much game theory to Hex that I think it takes a lot of understanding. And I like that you focus on the basics. So is that like an intent of yours? Like, do you try to, remain conscious of the new investor?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where, like, when you really think about the maximum possible effect you can have in terms of, and I hate to put it so crass, but pumping your own bags, right? It's new people coming in. It's a function of network effects, adoption, Metcalfe's law. It's literally, you are the network and you have to get other nodes to participate in this network. Otherwise, it's not worth anything at all. It's only as valuable as the people that believe that it has value. So one day, we might not have to ever sell our Hex. If we're living in Hexaco and enough people agree that we can just accept this for payment, sounds crazy, but if we can onboard enough of the world, like we can really change a lot of people's lives when it becomes a unit of account. Now that might be decades away, but where do you start with all that? Is you have to bring it back to the basics and back to the initial value propositions that I think a lot of people lose sight of. People get very wrapped up in whatever's sticky for them. It could be technical analysis or talking about T-shares, talking about code and all this stuff. But to 99% of the population, they don't care. They just want to know, why should I buy this? Like, why is it going to go up and what does it do? And you have to kind of boil that down in a simplified terms for people that might not have the same background as you or I. So yeah, we get caught up in, I call it the circle jerk of just everybody talking for 2 hours about T-shares, and there'll be like a panel of 15 guys just and that's great. It's like I understand that that's fun and there's a time and a place for that, and that's like community building, that's hanging out, that's making bonds between each other stronger, which is great. But sometimes we can forget about the new guy who's coming into this, and if he's watching this 2-hour live stream of 10 dudes talking about some crazy complex game theory, like, it's like Greek to them, right? It's like a totally different language. So that's why, I have hexpassiveincome.com, shameless plug, for people that are brand new to crypto, because that's where I feel like I can have the most impact for everybody. It all starts at the new user. Because, I mean, let's be honest, like, once you're in crypto to a certain degree, and you're not necessarily always putting that much more money into crypto. It's, asymptotic over time. So we want the people that are still making that transition that have one leg in the traditional financial system. We want to get them over to this parallel game that we're building, which is crypto in general, but more importantly, the ones that we like, stuff like Hex, PulseChain, all that. And you're just going to get more bang for your buck, more effect, I guess, in the long term, just by getting new people in. So.
Well, and it's duplicatable. That's the beauty of it, is it's duplicatable. You can, send people to that website and hit a much broader audience than all of the hours sometimes that it takes to do one-on-one. You can
that too. I've always been a big fan of, pre-recorded videos, evergreen content, how to stake Hex, how to buy Hex. If everybody just made a how to buy Hex video, then, I mean, it doesn't take that long, right? But you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, someone else already did it, so I don't need to do it. Well, you might show other people, or other people might stumble across your channels that didn't stumble across my channel. I mean, it's not like, I have to be the only, and I'm not like trying to tell anybody what to do with their time, but if you want to make something that stands the test of time, that's a long-term, I guess, store of value, right? Is you store your ideas in YouTube videos, and it's evergreen content that just sits there, or write an article, or put an advertisement out. At the end of the day, that's what people are going to come back to, is keywords that are commonly searched for, which it gets frustrating. Like for me too, it gets really frustrating. Like having to explain how to buy Hex over and over and over again, or like, when's the PulseChain launch day? When's the launch day? It's like, nobody knows. Please stop asking. Or we're going to are my stakes going to be copied too? It's like, it sounds like a dumb question because you're so tired of hearing it, but you got to realize, like, you have to have some empathy for the new guy that literally just got here, and not his fault that he doesn't know the answer to all these things. Just because we've been here for 3 years, we forget. We're basically experts in this field, so not everybody is yet. So yeah, being empathetic to the new user experience is easily forgotten.
I think it definitely is, and I can even say too, because I wasn't into Hex as early as either of you guys, and I remember Ewok like showing me when he was talking about Hex early on, and before I was as familiar with like Uniswap, and I mean I don't even know how it was so complicated in my head, but I remember thinking like I didn't understand how to do these like multiple steps through DeFi, and it just seemed strange to me and stuff like that. So I mean, I could say like I remember that. I remember feeling like I don't even understand. Why can't you just go on to like an exchange and buy it? I know how to do that. I know how to do that with
Yeah.
Ethereum or Bitcoin at the time. But what I didn't understand then is why that's really a beautiful thing right now. I mean, the fact that we do have a DEX like Uniswap to do all that and not having to go through the KYC processes and buy everything on an exchange. Which does kind of leave me coffee. Like we've talked about this a lot on recent episodes about the network effect of Hex and the fact that we have a lot of these like big time influencers. Like we kind of have public knowledge about some of them definitely sacrificing for PulseChain. Some of them are getting more comfortable talking about it and stuff. What are some of the like other benefits to Hex you think that will bring? I mean, Ewok said it a couple weeks ago. Hex getting through another market cycle here, it's already earning some credibility right now in real time with how it's pumping. But getting through a whole other market cycle and blowing everything out of the water here over the next few years, what's that going to do? I mean, are we going to be seeing the BitBoys of the world? I know he already has, but some of these gigantic channels, maybe even like a guy from Coin Bureau, like somebody like him talking about Hex, it would just be like crazy. I mean, do you think that happens? Do you think Hex gets on these major exchanges? Like, what do you think happens as a result of that?
To some degree, it doesn't matter. Like you're in before that, and so it's important to get in before it goes viral. And yeah, we know there's Ion on Tech, BitBoy. I mean, there's other guys that people are tracking and verifiably have sacrificed, right? So the floodgates are going to come down. There still is this stigma that makes Hex seem kind of controversial. And so a lot of influencers, right? It's funny, they don't want to risk their reputation on the best performing asset in all of crypto, but they'll destroy their reputation on everything else, literally showing you Celsius, FTX. It's absurd to me. And so, a lot of these people, I feel like eventually they're going to have to say, if you can't beat them, join them. Otherwise, they'll just keep being sad little broke boys, and that's okay. We don't really need all these. Think about a crypto influencer relative to even just a normal TikTok, 16-year-old girl doing makeup tutorials. Like, we're nobodies out here. So, I mean, when you get like Paris Hilton talking about Hex, or when you get, some movie stars talking about it, that's real influencer, virality, adoption, whatever you want to call it. We're kind of, we assign importance to a lot of these so-called crypto experts or gurus, God forbid. It sounds gross to even say that for some of these clowns. Like the bar is so low in crypto and nobody's ever heard about it that, we just got to be careful that, not putting so much emphasis on, we all are the new influencers. We're the new carriers of this narrative. And it doesn't matter if people that have been around for a while want to get on board or not. It's unstoppable at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, getting the top BitBoy kind of guys, it would help cascade Hex a little bit faster through mainstream crypto. But it's kind of also to our advantage that we're not in quote unquote mainstream crypto yet. Like there's just so much more. If we can pump this hard on no influencers talking about us, like nobody's saying a nice word other than the actual Hexagon community. And now it's just finally starting to happen. We've came this far from 0.00001 cents to 7 cents. We did a 10,000x in the last bull market. And what do you think is going to happen when it actually does go mainstream? So it's just more opportunity. I look at it like a good thing.
Yeah. What do you think about the exchanges, though? Does it matter to you? Like, it doesn't matter to me.
That's a good question.
I'm perfectly fine with Uniswap and all the other ones that we have. But
me too.
I mean, does it get that much more traction if it gets listed on a Coinbase, or do we see a major dump? Because
that's what usually happens, right?
Yeah.
Because people it's pretty corrupt. People prepay. They have these exorbitantly high listing fees, and once you basically bribe the gatekeeper to list your coin, it's just they permadump forever because they were given an allocation of the coin. And Hex refuses to do that, which is why it's not on that many mainstream exchanges. But it's also a good thing because it's only primarily traded on decentralized exchanges, which is the way crypto was supposed to be the whole time. So in effect, the gatekeeping is playing in our favor, and it's up to people like us and people watching, everyone in the Hex community. We need to educate people that centralized exchanges suck. They are not the way. They are not even real crypto, right? Buying your money on FTX was not even crypto at all. You bought a little number on a screen that might have said, BTC after it. You never owned any Bitcoin at all. They actually never even held Bitcoin in their reserves, and which is a whole other story. But Sam Bankman-Fried and Caroline are just playing around with your money, playing League of Legends and taking on extremely high leverage bets with your money. That's not real crypto at all. So
they're probably rubbing those dollar bills all over their bodies and stuff. You know what I mean? Who knows what was going on down there?
Don't paint that picture, please.
I want to ask you this, Coffee, because I really liked your attitude towards this. If you can even really call it that, because I think you did a good job of just kind of ignoring it. I'm not even going to really mention anything in specific because there's been many over the course of Hex's existence. But, people always talk about like these vampire attacks or Hex wannabes and stuff like that. I really like your kind of, I've never seen you get like emotional about it. I've never seen you, like if I even utter these words, the Hex gods will strike me down. You just kind of, what the best is. And I like that you don't seem to have like a scarcity mindset, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think there's some of that going on out there with people that get a little bit afraid of, what may happen to their own bags or something like that. And yeah, you seem to be kind of on the opposite end of that and just, hey, I know I have the best product here and I'm going to continue to talk about it. So
exactly. I mean,
yeah,
you nailed it. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm coming from. It's like, why would I want to spend time talking about something that's going to make me less money, like, or lose me money, and we've seen copycats come and go. It's nothing new under the sun. You guys have been here a while too, right? You remember Hexy and, oh my God, where do we begin? Wise token. And like, I'm only talking about these things because it's been so long that the risk diode concept doesn't really matter much anymore. Even Axion, like they're just so dead that it's funny. It's laughable. And we're seeing that happen with new things all the time. There's always, we're the AI version of Hex. Just slap a buzzword on there and call it like the next best thing. It's nothing new under the sun. So I don't care if people want to talk about it, but when people are arguing on Twitter about, which coin is better, you're wasting your time. You got to ghost trolls and ghost people that have worse ideas, right? Like if there was something to gain by you arguing with somebody on the internet, like you better make sure he's got a lot more followers than you, right? But we're arguing. It's like the peanut gallery, just arguing about little tiny stuff that doesn't matter. I mean, you can just mute words that you don't like in your chat box. You guys know that, right? Like you can go to your YouTube settings and just say, okay, when these 3 letters are typed, just mute that person. And it's a glorious thing. Like you can censor people that you don't want to hear. And I'm totally fine with that. Yeah. If you're coming onto my stream trying to shill something that is going to wreck people, it's my domain. I have the ability to, we talk about what I want to talk about here. If you want to show your garbage coin somewhere else, I'm not going to stop you. But at the end of the day, like, let's let the best narrative win. Yep. And if your coin is so good and your narrative is so great, your leader's so awesome, then time will tell. Right. And then, I'll admit when I'm wrong, but haven't been so far. I think the Richard Heart ecosystem is a pretty safe bet. That's where I'm putting most of my eggs, right?
Yeah. With that being said, PulseChain is coming out. What non-Richard Heart product are you most looking forward to?
Nice. Yeah, that's a good question. So I mean, I sacrificed for other stuff. I did liquid loans, fiat, famous, crap, what else? I don't know. By the end of it, I was all out of money, and now there's sacrifices, and they just won't stop, and they just keep asking for my money, and I'm like, guys, I'm already stretched too thin, and I'm in like 4 or 5 other projects. I think I put a tiny little bit into Mintra, just because I know Gerardo, he's a good guy. Like,
right.
It's seriously, compared to the rest of my stack, it's the tiniest little bit that I put into Mintra. I think liquid loans ended up getting the majority of, and that's just had to do with the timing of when they had to sacrifice, near the peak, right? They were one of the first alternative, non-directly Richard Heart sacrifices, but they got to me early. They were, shout out to Jesse. I mean, he's good at what he does. He made sure to reach out early, explain the whole protocol, and sit me down and talk about, it's decentralized, no admin keys. It's a fork of a very successful protocol. So I think things like that are going to do very well. Things like liquid loans or whatever, some stuff at Power City seems okay. But again, I've only got so much money and time at the end of the day, and I want to pick what I think are going to be the winners. And I mean, obviously, I think the 3 winners are going to be PulseX, Hex, PulseChain, and the backup horses are kind of just side revenue, right? Ways for me to make passive income. I'm not even going to be taking out especially risky strategies with, liquid loans and all this stuff. I'm just going to be staking the platform token, staking the fiat token, whatever it might be, and just collecting, being the house and collecting revenue generated by the decentralized users of that protocol. So I'm not, into these protocols because I'm like really into margin trading or I'm really into leverage. Like I just look at them like alternative revenue streams, and they're kind of all just building blocks that build a fully fleshed out financial ecosystem. If you do want to replace all the products at a bank, right, you have to start with things like loans. And after we have store of value or CD and trading platform, you need to get some of these more fringe, more niche kind of financial products out there. But we've got a lot of smart people building a lot of smart stuff. And then we've got a lot of grifters and scammers and people that might just have the best of intentions. But we've already seen people with, they don't think that they're scamming anybody. They really have good intentions. But then it's like, oh, generic reflection token, rugged. Oh, the developers had a bug, even though it got audited, because I skimped on the audit. Like these people that where it's their first time building anything at all, you have to be very careful that if they don't have a track record or if they don't even have experience in, previous businesses or tech or anything like that, like why should I be putting all my money in these people's hopes and dreams? Like I want them all to succeed, but I just know that statistically they're not going to.
Yeah, and they don't even put their face out there too. That's another
sometimes, yeah.
That's another red flag that I've seen. Some of these guys, they won't come forward. It's one of the things. Now, what do you think about the OX Coast, the on-ramp that's coming out? Do you know anything about that?
Oh, dude, that's probably the biggest product that like I don't think a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah, I know. People have been quiet. Yeah.
It's probably because they don't have like a coin, right? Or they do have a coin, but it's just pretty uneventful, right? You buy a little bit, put it like $100 into weight, you get cheaper fees. I didn't say that, but that's what I hear from around, word on the street.
Yeah.
But dude, they're going after it. The guys, 0x Coast, Stoic, the main dude, he has already gotten USA approval for a fiat on and off ramp.
I saw that.
It's legendary. I mean, it's modeling what True USD did, which is highly successful and highly like how you call it, like it's playing by the rules from a regulatory standpoint as well. So it's a low regulatory risk,
right?
Because I mean basically they're just 1-for-1 stable coins backed by real dollars that you, the user, put into a bank. And now he's going for like, it seems like he's going for every country on the map, right?
Well, they're about halfway there because I saw the map the other day and they said about 50% has been at one point, they're at least started with regulations in that country at least. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Stoic and the whole team really, because it's one of the things that it needs to be done, but nobody wants to deal with all the compliance bullshit. But they're the guys to do it, right? Yep. They have really solid business sense, and you can see they're making real progress. They're going to launch on Ethereum before PulseChain even is out, so they're going to have a working product from day one.
That's awesome.
I don't know what more you could ask for. This is going to be, Ivan on Tech was asking, well, what stable coins are coming to PulseChain? It's like we've already got at least 2, probably 3 or 4, but 2 reliable, one algorithmic and one kind of traditional. But we're taking the best of what works in the existing crypto ecosystem, and we're just kind of hijacking it, making it better, putting our own little spin on it, and that's PulseChain.
Yep. How about you, Ewok? Do you have a favorite of the non-RH things that are going to be on Pulse so far?
Well, I didn't sacrifice for any of them just because I was worried. I didn't want to risk my bag. I figured I would wait until they launched at least to see how far along they got, if at all, because I knew some of them may not even get off the ground. So I think the famous and fiat will be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by that. Yeah,
that, and I've always spoke highly of the liquid loans guys. They always seemed pretty serious about it, and were very vocal. They showed their faces. They You know, I know Jesse went somewhere. Jesse went over to Power City, right?
Yeah.
Coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
think he's some kind of community lead over there or something.
so I don't know the backstory of why or what happened, but either way, um, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm also going to be very leery of new projects because for every good one, there's going to be 10 out there to steal your money. So, you know, we just
Yeah.
have to be very aware of what's going on and be careful.
It's a good point. It's like, it's not because you didn't put money in them. You're not, people just get so emotional and worked up. It's like, we're not saying we don't trust or like these guys or want to trust these guys, but it's your own money, right? And when people
Yep.
come in onto the scene without a track record, you know, that maybe they don't even show their face on camera. Maybe you're like, well, who are you? And why are you asking for my money? And it's going to take some time for a lot of these people to prove themselves. But yeah, I guess if it comes back to the original question, my favorite product being built, I got to go with the fiat on and off ramp. That's just it's a dark horse. Not a lot of people are talking about it.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, I'm not here. I don't hear much about it at all. So yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting. Let's turn our attention to a little bit of future casting here, kind of. And guys, if you're enjoying the stream so far, hit the like. We very much appreciate it. First, we'll just answer this question from Ren. So we kind of touched a little bit on this earlier, but V3 public we think will be out soon. I mean, I saw Hexo the other day thinking it would be out already by now. I think his window is already passed, but people, you know, we think it's close. How long do you think? I don't even know if there's a point answering this, but how long will the testnet be out, do you guys think, before we actually see mainnet launch?
Yeah, who knows? Exactly. I think it depends really if they find bugs, or you know, if everything's running smoothly. A month maybe. It's just a guess. Now, I think you and I were talking about this before Coffee got on, but we got to remember that the V3 protocol becomes public as of April 1st. So even if we do launch the testnet V3 in March sometime, it makes sense to at least wait until that. Coffee, don't you agree?
Yeah. Look, I mean, it might be pretty quick because they've got a private testnet that's been out for some time. So you know they've been working on it, but you know, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like there's going to be unforeseen bugs that do come up. I'd give it 1 to 2 months maybe after V3 launches. I'm always foolishly optimistic, but let's call it 1 to 2 months if we're just making stuff up here,
right? Yeah, I like it. I like your made up answer. So, okay, I want to turn our attention to what is probably going to be one of the most interesting things here. And even though the answer may be kind of similar for these three scenarios, I want to talk about, so on actual PulseChain launch, we've got a few scenarios of people that are going to be experiencing this. It's going to be crazy, obviously, the first few days, first few weeks, really. Who am I kidding? But, you know, we're going to have people who have sacrificed for both PulseChain and PulseX, even more people that just sacrificed for PulseX. And I'm not sure of the numbers here, but maybe more people who didn't have an opportunity to sacrifice at all, because we are now over a year actually, from even the PulseX sacrifice. So looking at these three scenarios, Coffee, and you know, we're not obviously giving out financial advice to people directly or anything, but just some kind of broad brush stuff. You know, somebody maybe in your shoes, who obviously has sacrificed for both of these. What's kind of your plans the first few days, and what would you think one's plans should or could be that's already, you know, kind of comfortable with the bag that they sacrificed for? Are you just kind of sitting back, watching the action? What do you think about launch day?
That's it, man. I'm gonna get on I'm gonna get on a live stream. I know someone's gonna be hosting like a 24-hour live stream. It's not gonna be me, but I'll hop on. I'll get my popcorn. I'll enjoy the scam wicks and watching everybody get rinsed out, just fighting over each other, just get the scraps. But no, I'm good. I've got my bags. My bags are packed, and I would tell a lot of people too, don't feel like you need to do much of anything. You can dollar cost average in afterwards if you're just a little patient. You're not gonna. The risk of people doing something that could shoot themselves in the foot is pretty high, and a lot of people think they're going to be smart. Well, it's like you can't all be smart, right? Like there has to be a winner and a loser if you're going to try ratio trading beforehand. So I just don't want to give any like formal recommendations on that, because if it was me and I didn't already have a PulseChain and PulseX bag, or if I didn't already sacrifice, then I'd probably set a really conservative limit order based on the price of Hex and what the price of Hex was pre-fork, right? Or what it is over on Ethereum. And I would try to relatively judge that to the sacrifice price of PulseX or Pulse or whichever bag I'm trying to accumulate. And remember, that price was $0.0001. And I would just do the math on those ratios, right? But set a very, very conservative limit order too, because people might fat finger it. People might mess it up and maybe add an extra zero onto their transaction, and it could slip easily into your limit order. It's going to be pure chaos, though. It's going to be one of the most entertaining couple of days I think I'll ever exist in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many people actually wreck themselves thinking that they're smart, doing the right thing, and trying to do things too early, too fast, too drunk. I mean, who knows what the mindset is? But yeah, the fat finger thing could just wreck somebody. Adding an extra zero or an extra any number could really screw you up. So, my advice to people is to just sit back and wait, only because Hex didn't bottom for 33 days.
Exactly.
We could see a very similar pattern. Who knows? No one really knows what's going to happen. But
you look at every chart of a new coin, they all kind of look the same. There's always some group that got in early that just wants to get out. Some percentage of that. It's not going to be everybody, but look at Ethereum when it launched. Look at any big hyped project that had some kind of an ICO or even VC backing, and they dump for the first couple of months. That's just what happens. People that were waiting for the project are going to take short-term profits. Maybe they make a 2x, maybe they make a 3x, but they're ignoring the 1000x potential on the table. And that's where you can slowly just slide your way in. And don't freak out. It's all going to be okay. It's going to be fun. I mean, I'm going to probably have to just be making tutorials in the background. I'm not going to be touching the buy button or the sell button at all.
Yeah. And we forget about all the people that are angry that it's taken this long because they don't know how to be patient. So the second it launches, who knows what they do? They could really need that money because they overextended themselves.
I guess, man. But if you've waited this far without it,
I know.
Right. Yeah. Hey, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
One of the angles I'm most intrigued by, because I think this is going to be the majority of the people. Most people were able to sacrifice for Pulse X, did not sacrifice for PulseChain, and are going to be scrambling or wanting to get in to Pulse. And we see, I'm a big fan. I always talk about your friend Sami's channel. I don't know if you've seen him at all, Coffee.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good. I like his stuff a lot. But he's been reviewing this and talking about what people that have Pulse X are going to do. And, just FOMOing it, selling their PulseX, ratioing it into PulseChain. And to me, I really agree with what Sami's kind of been saying on it. And like you just kind of alluded to it, Coffee, you can't all be right. Not everybody's going to be right. So to me, if there's anything you want to accomplish, or if you can't keep yourself away from trading these things or, DCAing early on or something like that, to me, it's let's just go in the opposite direction than where the market is going then. If we're starting to see value creep out of EHEX early on, I might want to DCA a little bit into EHEX. If we're seeing the PulseX ratio get crazy, I might want to even, double down and DCA even more into PulseX. I mean, to me, it just kind of makes sense to go whatever the overreaction is, go the opposite way. I'm not saying that's something that people have to do. I mean, obviously sitting on your hands is fine too, but wherever you're seeing everything go is probably going to be the direction you don't want to follow, I guess is what I'm saying early on.
I think you're right, man. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's very, very simple. And people are overcomplicating it, or they're biasing themselves and they're deluding themselves because they hold a bag of PulseX. But guys, the PulseX sacrifice came after the PulseChain sacrifice. So just by timing of it, a lot of people found out about PulseX after PulseChain, and a lot of people missed PulseChain, PLS. And now it lasted at least triple the time, right? It was 47 days, I think, rather than 14. And there was a lot more people that actually put in money. You could see this on chain. So what do you think all those people are going to be pushing to do? Now, if you don't have a PulseX bag yet, it might actually be nice to take the alternative side of that trade and go in and try to scoop up some PulseX for super duper cheap in those early days, because I think a lot of people are going to try to be the very basic amateur move is going to be swap your PulseX for PLS right away just so you get some, right?
Yeah.
But that's just what everyone's going to do. And so, if you're following the herd, you're not going to get the best deal. I mean, sure, you might get your bag and it's going to be fine in 2 years, but you want to get a good deal. So
yep.
it's just,
I like the strategy of buying something random that we think will hold a little bit of value, and get rid of that. That way it's not like, say, Matic. I buy a bunch of Matic. I know I'm going to get a copy. I want to use that to trade, because then I'm not really dumping anything that means something to me. Right. I don't have to dump my Hex. I don't have to dump my Pulse. I don't have to dump my Pulse X. I have all of them. I'm fine. But for those that aren't, we want you to, we've talked about people buying Hex, help the price of Hex, get a copy of it, but then they got to dump it. I still think there's a play there to buy something else that you don't care about, that you think, has a decent community that will hold a little bit of value over there. There's going to be a ratio. So it shouldn't,
like that.
And those aren't going to be as volatile, I don't think. At least, if you really want to do it from the early days, I think that could be a good play as well.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's kind of fun, right? If you've got some bags of some random little altcoins, hey, no one's going to be paying attention over there. So see how much pulse you can get for them.
That's right.
There's going to be pools from day one, because there were ETH pools, and that ETH is going to be transformed into pulse. Maybe you can get something substantial. I don't know.
Right.
It's just funny though. I see all these people just very, very, very bullish on Pulse X, just because I know this is like true, because like it's just what they have. They missed PLS.
Right.
Like it's very, and like, well, they're like, oh, but the math, all the moon math and the buy and burn, and it's like, okay, but don't delude yourself. They're all going to do great. I'm not talking shit about Pulse X at all, but just because you have it doesn't mean it's going to go straight up to the moon, right, forever. I do think in the near term, PulseChain will probably outperform, and then eventually, who knows, Pulse X could pick back up and overtake PLS. But it's just the distribution, right? It's the way the coins are distributed. Way more people have Pulse X, and not as many people have PLS.
Yep.
I think you're exactly right. Based on that fact alone, I mean, it only makes sense that PulseChain would actually perform better out of the gate, because people won't have it as much. Plus, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Like, that really is the main attraction here. I mean, like, we knew about PulseChain before anything else. It was out before anything else. People are more aware of it, and it's the actual chain. So I think it's going to be what people are like more wanting to get into. Talking about like those other tokens just real quick, because I am curious about this. Like, you brought a Matic or whatever else, like some other token you can have to trade out over there. What do you guys think will happen with some of these tokens? Like, we've talked about USDC. Like, how quickly do you think some of those could lose their value, or how may they look on PulseChain? I'm curious to like what some of those coins may look like on a whole new chain like that, and if the hold value, if you want to get rid of them quickly, what do you think we could be looking at there?
I don't think a lot of them are going to hold their value. Ewok probably agrees with me on that. Yeah. The developers, the communities, they've got a lot of pride. They put a lot of time and effort into Ethereum. Ethereum is still looked at as kind of the blue chip, kind of a premier layer one still, and everyone's already kind of loyal to their own ecosystem, right? You don't see a lot of you don't see Compound being copied over onto the Phantom network, for example. And like Phantom just built their own version of whatever, and that's what PulseChain is doing. We're building our own versions of the stuff on Ethereum, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of loyal Ethereum developers and just investors. I don't think you're going to get them flipping over day one. If I had to put my money on any community actually flipping over and kind of becoming PulseChain loyalists, it'd be Shiba to me, because they don't care. They're just in it for the memes.
Well, that and their transaction fees will be affordable. I mean,
yeah, Shiba's. I mean, they did really well in the last cycle too. Yeah, I could see them adopting Pulse.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
We pretty much know that USDC isn't going to hold value for shit, basically. And if it does, who's to say that Circle doesn't come in and invalidate them? So
easily could. Yeah.
Ewok, do you want to pull up the Hex price chart here for the last 10 minutes or so? I just figured we could kind of go over it. But I mean, Coffee, off the top of your head here,
you want to answer that question while I do that real quick? I'm not sure what they're asking. How do you sell? But
how do you sell what?
So how will you be able to sell Pulse or Pulse X after the bridge opens? Wrapped stablecoins? I mean, go ahead, Coffee.
Yeah, wrapped stablecoins. I mean, it's either going to be that or the Coast stablecoin. I think the Coast stablecoin will exist from day one. If they're launching on Ethereum, they're going to be there on day one.
Yeah,
maybe
the
that. US, you're not going to have the USDL stablecoin for a couple months. They're going to wait until some of the volatility dies down. But yeah, you're right. Yo, Fosha, wrap stablecoins for sure.
So just some short-term price action here, just like with everything obviously that's going on with Hex and V3, possibly on the verge here. I mean, just looking at the chart, you guys kind of know some of the key levels, but I mean, where do you think we could be headed short-term? We were just about to break 8 cents. Once we got over 7, there's just kind of a lot of helium to the upside here. So, what do you think we could get in the short term? And upon a V3 public announcement, what do you think price action could look like in the short term for Hex?
I would love 10 cents, man. I would really, really love it. And if the Fed stuff is less hawkish than we think, then it could even be as high as 15, 18 cents. But I don't want to get overly optimistic, but it feels like, like you said, there's not a whole lot going on between 7 and 10 in terms of the liquidity range, in terms of V3 could be out at any moment. I'm hoping I wake up to another nice green candle tomorrow, but there's always going to be people selling off, and it doesn't just go up in a straight line. So,
which is healthy. Even if we stick with this trend line that I just kind of drew, and I drew it back in here, and it's kind of stayed within that. We'll see how it sticks to it. Even if we do have a little pullback, I think it's healthy to have those. We just don't want to see one vertical candle all the way up. It's nice, but it usually falls just as hard as it goes up when that happens.
Yeah, but now this has been some sustainable, like organic, real users. It's a beautiful looking chart right now. This is real organic growth.
Yeah, this is looking really, really good off the bottom. And people have to be regretting so badly. I've talked about it on here a lot with Ewok the last few weeks, but I mean, there were no shortage of opportunities to buy the lows in this bear market for Hex. I mean, not only that, but the timing of it. And I know this because I was doing it the entire week, but over Christmas, I mean, you had under 2 cents the entire time. While you were home on vacation from work or whatever it might be, there was plenty of time to buy the bottoms there. And it's one of those things, nobody said it was going to be easy. It psychologically is harder to buy at those levels, especially when everybody's like, oh, I think 1.4 cents is going to be the lower. We're going to lose a penny and all this stuff. And, not only that, but people just aggressively waiting for a penny and it never coming. And I feel fortunate that I did, scoop up just a ton of it under 2 cents. And the time was definitely there to do that. But talk a little bit about that, Coffee, having, I guess, the fortitude or
it's really, really hard, man. You got to flip the script on yourself, because everything in your body is going to be telling you to wait, or maybe it's not right yet, or even sell, because our brain's reaction to fear is stronger than our brain's reaction to pleasure. I mean, if a lion ate your family back in the day, you didn't want to fuck with lions anymore. But if you ate a tasty orange, let's say, that feeling kind of wears off pretty quickly. So people are very averse to loss. They're very scared at the dips and skittish. And what if it goes to 1 cent? What if it goes to half a cent? None of that really matters when Hex is $2, right? It's not going to matter too much whether you got 2 cents or 2.5 cents. I think all that stuff under 3 cents was such a gift for people that wanted to DCA, and I know a lot of people did. Shout out to you guys, or at least you, Broke Boy. I mean, capitalizing on that was not easy to do. And dollar cost averaging, it was much easier said than done, right? But you literally just need to, if you have conviction in what's happening, if you know the product's going to be here for a couple of years, if you know the community is not going anywhere, the code is immutable, then it can help you, sleep better at night with your decisions to scale in. All the opportunity exists when everybody's pessimistic. I mean, it's literally no better time to buy. It's just everything in your body is telling you not to, or maybe hold off, or maybe it's going to go a little lower, but you just got to pull the trigger, have a zoom out, think about what's life going to be like in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And are you going to care if you got 2.5 cents or 2.3 cents? It's not it's not worth nickel and diming at this low level. We're at a 97% discount, or we were, maybe it was 95% off, and it just doesn't get much better than that.
It won't matter at a dollar.
Yeah,
won't matter at a dollar.
I think it just takes like different times going through it too, like having experienced it a few times, like, especially even if you made it through the 2022 bear market and just like, the initial collapse of like Terra Luna and then the FTX stuff in November, the world crashing around you. And it's like a signal, a slap in the face to say like, man, I should probably be buying today. Like this is like people are calling for the end of crypto here. I definitely need to be buying,
Yeah. I mean, when you've seen it before, it gets a little bit easier, right? You've seen all the telltale signs of people just doom and gloom and crypto's never coming back, but it's going to be here, guys. Like you can't turn the code off. The cat's out of the bag. You can't put it back in. Like it's people are going to try, and people get fudded out by things they don't understand. So all this legal BS with the SEC, not only in Hex in particular, but they're just going after everybody right now. It seems like we're trying to, where they have a case, and they don't really have a case in Hex because it's decentralized, whereas it's easy for a lot of these so-called cryptocurrencies to point to a centralized CEO or even a building full of people that are all getting paid, sometimes getting paid in the tokens, right? But basically, what I'm just saying is it's unstable regulatory environment, depending on your jurisdiction. That can be the scary part, but you just got to realize, go back to the basics. You can't turn it off. It's just code. It's just code on a blockchain, and no one can turn off a blockchain, right? They can't go to everybody's house that chooses to do a validator on Ethereum, right? They're not going to bang on everyone's door at the exact same time and say, hey, give up your validator, right? It's not feasible for anybody.
Same logic that I used back at 8th grade when I was like, I saw that somebody got arrested for downloading a song on Napster or something like that. And I started to tremble a little bit. Not that I ever did that, but Coffee, I know you got to run here soon. I just, and Ewok, if you want to ask anything else, I'll let you do it too. But I just want to ask you first, with, this new horizon, PulseChain coming, I mean, we got great vibes in the Hex community and everything. What's kind of your vision for like yourself, your channel, just life in general, I guess, over the next year or two? Because there's going to be a lot of excitement. I mean, going into this next bull cycle, I mean, like, I just feel so positive about everything right now with where crypto is, because 2022 was such shit, and 2023 is already infinitely better. We're seeing a lot of good
much
things.
Worse. Yeah,
exactly. So what's kind of your vision here? What are you personally going to be trying to do, and what are some of your goals?
Just get the word out. I mean, it's how high we pump in this next bull market. It's going to be awesome. It already is fun. Like crypto is fun again. Like, I don't know if it's going to be up and to the right in a straight line, but we're back, as far as I'm concerned. We're not dead. We're not going anywhere. But the whatever price we top out at, it could be $2, it could be $20, but it's a function of how much effort we put into, again, educating other people and getting new people into the ecosystem. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Adoption, user experience, onboarding, making it easier. That's all that matters to me, right? So I'm just going to try to see how high we can go. But I do realize that it's not a free ride. It takes a little bit of everybody. You are the network, and that's really true. Richard's only one guy, right? He can't do everything on his own. So just get out there and just try to pump your own bags, guys.
Oh yeah. Good message. Ewok, you got anything else?
No, I just want to, Coffee, we definitely appreciate you being here. We respect you. Want to give you a last chance there to show your Hex passive income. Tell people a little bit more about it. Kind of give them if you want to give them a price point. And
sure, yeah. Well, if you're brand new to crypto, you know nothing about crypto. If what we've just said for the past hour makes no sense to you, or maybe you just have like a parent or a sister, brother, aunt, uncle that has been curious about getting into crypto, but you don't want to sit down with them for 8 hours straight, pointing and clicking with your hand over their hand on the mouse. Like, you don't want to just have all that time to sacrifice to that individual person. HexPassiveIncome.com, very, very affordable. It doesn't cost zero because people don't value things that they get for free, right? So if you're willing to, right now there's a 25% off coupon, but it's $150. It's about 8 hours of content, and you can gift it. You can buy it. You can just buy it and then share it with like 20 people. If that's what you want to do. I don't care if people use the same login, like whatever. I'm not going to be a Nazi about that, right? But
there is a referral link too, right?
Yeah, you can also be an affiliate if you want to make your own affiliate links. Link in my YouTube descriptions, but yeah, go to my channel. It's in the description of every video. And for every course that you sell on your behalf, you get 40% of the revenue. So it's a pretty good deal.
Awesome.
40% affiliate links. It's a good way to onboard people. It's a good way to explain to an absolute beginner, right? We go through security, terminology, just the history of crypto 101, the history of Bitcoin, Ethereum. Before we even talk about buying Hex, and then the staking ladder strategy ultimately is what it ends up in. But it's just a crash course. It's just like a 101 on all things Hex, crypto, blockchain. And it's not even that hard to do. It just, if you're not willing to invest a little bit of money in yourself, you probably aren't really ready to invest in the first place. So there's a paywall behind it, just because, again, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, right, you might not even be a good fit yet. So, or you might not even have the extra money to be putting into crypto. It might not be responsible at this point in your life. But yeah, that's what it is. hexpassiveincome.com. Help me, help you, help everybody. And it's going to be great.
Oh yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I totally resonate with that. Like you have to put up money to actually care about it. I mean, you hear that even with people that are traders on lower time frames and stuff like that. They talk about like, well, paper trade for a little while. Well, you're not really gonna care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I
know people that have dished out thousands of dollars for these crypto masterminds, and it's like, what do you really? I feel like I'm teaching you kind of all the same stuff in a shorter amount of time, boiled down. There's a lot of fluff in these courses too. And the higher ticket items, I understand why people do it. It's a psychological thing, right? Where if you charge like $2,000 for a course, people will perceive it as being very, very important that they do it. I just don't really feel like doing that. It's like $150 for this particular one. And obviously I'll be adding to it when PulseChain comes out. I'm going to be off the grid for a little bit, but I'll make, version 2 of everything with PulseChain included. So, keep an eye out for that. Anyone that's bought it in the past is going to get the updated version for free. But yeah, shameless little shill there. It's not like I even really need the money, you know what I mean? But I just really want to make sure that people are somewhat serious about this, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, and it's good. Like you said, skin in the game it matters. It really matters. People, spend a little bit of money, they're going to care a little bit more.
Yep.
Hell of an ROI, $250. hexpassiveincome.com with Crypto Coffee. So that's going to wrap things up for us tonight. We will see everybody next Wednesday. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. This has been Boi Crypto, Crypto Ewok, and of course, Crypto Coffee. We'll catch you guys again next week right here on the Creed of Crypto Podcast.